Hello everyone, welcome back to Veranda IAS. In this series of Polity Foundation course, today we are going to start with a new session, that is the previous year question paper analysis. Basically, in our previous sections, I told you how the questions are asked in UPSC prelims and mains. We have already discussed about the pattern of the question and the various types of questions, the areas which UPSC focus and how to tackle those questions. We will be solving some of the previous year question papers and we have chosen some of the questions from previous years for your better understanding of the tackling of this problem, like how to basically solve UPSC paper. We will be dealing with 7 questions today in this session of prelims, that is MCQ type. So the learning objective today is to examine the previous year question papers for prelims. So very first type of question, the question 1, first question of today's session, which you get in UPSC is simple statements which you have to complete. It was asked in UPSC prelims 2020. In India, separation of judiciary from the executive is enjoined by. There is separation of powers and also checks and balances in India. What are these? We will be covering in your sessions ahead in detail. So basically this question is asking you the separation of judiciary and executive, the two organs of government, are given in which part of constitution, where in Indian constitution. So when we are talking about this, just remember what will be your approach. You have to read the question twice, thrice, then you have to go to the options. The options given here were the preamble of the constitution, DPSPs, the 7th schedule or the conventional practice. If we are going to approach this question by elimination method, what will be our approach? In the preamble of Indian Constitution, which is the summary we can say, the first page, the preamble does not have any mention of separation of power. Rather in preamble we have principles of sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. These are the terms used for Indian Federation in the preamble. There is no mention of separation of power. Then comes the 7th schedule. The 7th schedule talks about the 3 lists. The 3 lists, that is union list, state list and then concurrent list. This is division of power between the center and the state governments. Then comes the conventional practice. It is not also there in conventional practices. There are very few conventional practices which we have adopted in Indian Constitution, and separation of power is not there. Separation of power has a mention in what? The remaining, that is DPSPs. In DPSPs we have provisions regarding separation of power. So the correct answer will be option B, directive principles of state policy. The next type of questions, we will move ahead. The second question, other than the fundamental rights. Focus on the words other than the fundamental rights. It means we are not talking here about the fundamental rights. Which of the following parts of Constitution of India reflects the principles and provisions of Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948? What is this name? Okay, this was asked in 2020 prelims exam. Very latest questions we are discussing today. So basically what you can infer from this question, one thing, fundamental rights reflect the principles and provisions of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And now we have to tell, other than this, other than fundamental rights, what all are the things that reflect the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a document which was adopted by UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, in the year of 1948, and this declaration is known as one of the wonderful and finest documents that ensures the rights of the human rights in universal nature. Like universally human has some rights and this declaration protects it. So basically this protection of human rights is visible, is reflected in what all principles of Indian Constitution? Your options are preamble, DPSPs and fundamental duties. I have told you this type of question as well. You will get 3-4 options and then you will be asked, choose the correct option. 1 only, 2 only, 3 only. Now, if you know preamble reflects, if you know whether preamble reflects or does not reflect the principles and provisions of Human Rights Declaration, then by elimination method, the probability that you get a right answer is more, even if you do not know the answer to this question. How we will see? It is given, select the correct answer using the code given below. Statement 1 and 2, statement 2 only, statement 1 and 3, statement 1, 2 and 3. So even if we are having half knowledge here, which we should not, but like UPSC prelims you have to crack like this, we do not know all the statements most of the time. So even if we are having some knowledge that yes, the preamble reflects the ideology, reflects the philosophy of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, then what we can do, we can eliminate this statement, statement 2 only, right? By this we will eliminate one, like our 30% work is done. 1/4 of the work is done already, okay? Next is, also this statement we can eliminate, right? So not this, with the help of preamble, for this we need to observe at least 2 options. So we'll go back and we'll see what all are there, preamble, DPSPs and fundamental duties. Now I'll tell you the knowledge part, the information part, which is required to tackle this question. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights talks about the human rights, very simple, and human rights are right to equality, and there is very relevant, very basic right to life and so many rights. So basically the preamble reflects this philosophy. Apart from preambles, it is DPSP also that ensures that the human rights, human rights should be founded, should be established, should be promoted in India as per this declaration of 1948. Also, fundamental duties mention this. When you will be dealing with these chapters, you will come to know that how and where these provisions are included. So for this answer, preamble, DPSP, fundamental rights, all the 3 options are correct, and your correct answer will be option D, statement 1, 2 and statement 3. Basically all the 3 statements are correct. So this is second type of question which is often asked in UPSC. We'll move ahead, we'll see the next question, that is, which part of Constitution of India declares the ideal of welfare state? UPSC Prelims 2020. Again in 2020, they have asked a lot of questions from DPSPs, FDs and FRs. Okay, so which part of Constitution of India declares the ideal of welfare state? The ideal of welfare state, the state which rules less and gives more to its citizens, thinks more of welfare of its citizens. This ideal state, this ideal of welfare state is enshrined in what? It is enshrined in directive principles or fundamental rights or preamble or the 7th schedule. So basically what becomes important for us again to remember DPSP's fundamental rights, know the preamble and know the schedules of the Constitution. The answer to this question is directive principles of state policy. Under Article 38, it is mentioned that India should take steps to be a welfare state. Indian government should promote the philosophy of welfare state. So basically it is given in Article 38 in DPSPs. You have to remember this. When you will learn the list of DPSPs, it will be easier for you to crack prelims. Next question is, with reference to provisions contained in Part 4 of Constitution of India, which of the following statements are correct? 2 words you have to keep in mind in this question. First is Part 4 and second correct. Correct statement you have to identify, not the incorrect. Many times UPSC asks which of the following statements are incorrect. Here it is asking correct. And also it is talking about Part 4. What is Part 4? So our basic homework is to remember the schedules, to remember the parts. Then only we will be able to understand the question. Not solve the question, understand the question. DPSPs are there in Part 4. This question was again asked in 2020 prelims. Part 4 of Indian Constitution deals with directive principles of state policies. These are the directives given to the state, given to the government to make laws which are in congruence with these principles. These are basis of the laws which Indian government forms. These are non-justiciable in nature, unlike fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are justiciable. These are non-justiciable in nature. We'll look at the options. Option for sentence first is, they shall be enforceable by courts. I have already told you, non-justiciable, non-enforceable. They shall not be enforceable by any court. Then comes the principles laid down in this part are to influence the making of laws by the state. Look, basically, if you are reading the question in a good way, in a better way, what you can infer from this is statement 1 and 2 are contradictory to one another. Either they can be enforced by the courts or they cannot be enforced by the courts. So either statement 1 can be correct or statement 2 can be correct, right? So we can eliminate one option easily by this. DPSPs are non-enforceable by courts. So these are just directives given for the betterment of, like, better policies to be made in the welfare of citizens, and these are not justiciable. One cannot go to Supreme Court and High Court and challenge that this law is not in congruence with DPSPs. These are just suggestions. And why will government then follow this? Government will follow this to get the seat in next elections. This is what is power game. So basically what happened, DPSPs were kept as non-justiciable. So basically this option gets wrong, option 1. Now second is they shall not be enforceable by any court, and then third is the principles laid down in this part are to influence the making of laws of the state. I already told you, by state it does not mean state government. By state it means government. This word is interchangeably used in Indian polity. By state they mean the government, the authority which is ruling, which is governing. So these are the basis for the laws to be made by the authorities. Statement 3 and statement 2 are correct. We'll see the options. Select the correct answer using the code 1 only, 2 only, 1 and 3 only, 2 and 3 only. So the correct option will be, statement 1 is wrong, it will be 2 and 3 only, option D. Next question. Rajya Sabha has equal powers with Lok Sabha in Prelims 2020. Rajya Sabha, the upper house of Indian Parliament, also known as Council of States, has equal powers with Lok Sabha, that is lower house, also known as House of People. Directly elected representatives sit here. So basically these two chambers, these two houses have equal power in what? What are the options? The matter of creating new All India services, amending the constitution, removal of government, or making cut motions. So basically these are some of the powers. When you will understand the chapter of Parliament in detail, you will come to know a real picture. For the time being, how you have to solve this? We'll be dealing with the procedure of amendments in this course in further lectures. Then you will come to know about the process of amendment, and amendment is the right answer. For amending any part of the constitution, Indian Parliament, the bill can be introduced in Indian Parliament in either house, that is Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. In either house the bill can be introduced, and from if it is introduced in Lok Sabha, then it will go to Rajya Sabha, or vice versa, and in both the houses it need to get clearance by a special majority, and then with the help of presidential assent it becomes an act. The amendment is made. So while making amendment, any change to Indian constitution, the powers of the two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, are same. In general, we will see Lok Sabha has more powers than Rajya Sabha, but Rajya Sabha has special powers, some of the special powers. So this become important section for you to notice when you are dealing with the chapter of Parliament. These all are the parts, like how to address different parts in this vast syllabus. The thing, the art which you should know is the prioritization of important topics. We'll deal with next question. Which of the following are the discretionary powers given to the governor of a state? Why I have kept this question? Because again, this is one of the important parts of the syllabus which you have to address. Discretionary powers. What does it mean? It means the powers of governor which he can enjoy on its own. On its own means not bound by state governments. Who is a governor? Governor is a post created in the states by the central, appointed by the central government. Governors are actually called in informal language the agents of central government in the state. So governors has some discretionary powers. Discretionary powers means the powers in which the consultation of a state government is not required. These discretionary powers are of two types: constitutional and situational. There are some constitutional discretionary powers, and then there are some situational discretionary powers given to governor of states in India. So basically in 2014 this was asked, easy, simple, direct question. What are the options? There are some statements, then you have to select which is the discretionary power. Sending a report to the President of India for imposing President's rule. Sending a report for imposing President's rule in a state, is this a discretionary power? Then second is appointing the ministers. Third is reserving certain bills passed by the state legislature for consideration of the President of India. And fourth is making the rules to conduct the business of state government. So what we can observe from this, at least you all know, we all have this basic information that appointing the ministers is not a work of governor. Ministers in a state are appointed by the governor, but on the advice and aid and on the, not discretion actually, but on the guidance or on the option choosing of chief ministers. It is chief minister who selects the minister. Chief minister is a person who wins the majority of the votes in elections in state legislatures. So basically it is not a power of governor. What else is remaining? Sending a report, reserving certain bills passed by state legislature for consideration for the President of India, and making the rules to conduct the business of state government. This is also not a power of governor. So basically option 1, statement 1 and statement 3 are correct. What you have to do, you have to make a list of discretionary powers of governors, and you have to compare these with the discretionary powers or the powers of the president. This is how you have to approach this topic. So different options are given. Statement 1 and 2 are correct, 1 and 3 are correct, 2, 3, 4 are correct, and 1, 2, 3 and 4 are correct. Option B, statement 1 and statement 3 only is the correct answer. We'll see the next question, last but not the least for the session. Which one of the following statements is correct? Very simple question, 2013 prelims. Look at the statement, which one of the following statements is correct? So this type of questions are also a UPSC favorite. In India, the same person cannot be appointed as governor for 2 or more states at the same time. Wrong. In India, one person can have 2 positions, like can be a governor of 2 or more states at the same time. This has been done in the history. We have multiple examples. So this is not a correct statement. Second, the judges of High Court of states in India are appointed by the governor of the state, just as the judges of Supreme Court are appointed by the president. Remember this when we will be covering about high courts and supreme courts. You will come to know about this information. But in India, the judges of Supreme Court are appointed by president. Similarly, the judges of high courts are also appointed by president and not the governor. So this statement is also wrong. Third, no procedure has been laid down in the Constitution of India for the removal of governor from his or her post. And fourth, in the case of a union territory having a legislative setup, the chief minister is appointed by the lieutenant governor on the basis of majority support. So this statement is also wrong. Third one. Fourth is right. Very recent example, C of Delhi, lieutenant governor appointed the government there with the majority support. So those UTs which have state legislatures, which have legislative assemblies, their lieutenant governor appoints the government on the basis of majority support. So option D will be the right answer for this question. This was all for today. We will take up some more questions in our next session. I hope you liked this session. Till then, stay tuned, keep studying. Thank you so much.